This is the Ballroom State of Mind podcast, episode 112, Self-Criticism to Self-Coaching. It's podcast time, my friends, and I want to just jump right in. I want to talk about self-criticism versus self-coaching. And maybe this episode is piggybacking a little bit off of the last one that was about optimism and just, generating more optimism. This is kind of along those same lines, but just a little bit different framework. And I did that episode, I don't know, not quite 2 weeks ago, I think. And so I can't even remember what I said in that. So hopefully this is not too repetitive, but it is a little bit different way of looking at it maybe. So I've been thinking about this a lot because as I work with dancers, there's something about dance that really attracts perfectionists. And I think it's kind of like golf. I think perfectionists are drawn to technical things. Perfectionists like the idea that there's a perfect way to do something. And when we identify things as technique, that means there's a right way to do it. And perfectionists love that. But as we've talked about before and in previous episodes, perfectionism comes with a large serving of criticism. Okay, the voice in our head, the self-talk that we have as perfectionists. And by the way, I don't even like labeling ourselves that way. But I'm just, for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to say that. But I just want to point out, I don't think we should label ourselves as perfectionists, but the inner voice of a person who has perfectionistic tendencies is very critical sounding, usually. Okay. So have you ever walked off the dance floor and immediately felt just a wave of self-criticism, right? It might feel like self-consciousness. It might feel like vulnerability. Largely, it feels like shame, but the self-criticism ticks off, which is just like, we start going down the laundry list of all the things that we did wrong and all the things that we didn't do right and that we forgot and that we didn't pull off. Or maybe you're watching yourself on video, and whether it's a practice or a performance, you just can't help but notice all of the flaws. Your brain goes right to the flaws, which annoyingly your teacher has pointed out to you, but now you can actually see video evidence. So that's like really annoying. So your brain's like, great, he's right. My feet are not pointed all the time and my posture is collapsing. And you're just cringing as you're noticing all of that, right? So many things wrong in the video. Or perhaps you're in a lesson or with a visiting coach, and the critic in your head is just on fire, telling you all the ways that you're not measuring up and you're not catching on fast enough and that you should already have this by now. And why can't I do this? And why am I still dancing bronze? And maybe I shouldn't even be doing this, right? So it's really normal and human to be critical. Brains have a negative bias after all, and we're really good at finding what's wrong. And since, like I said, many dancers are self-proclaimed perfectionists, that inner critic is just the first to speak up in times of challenge, especially. It's like a knee-jerk reaction. It's almost like a reflex to go straight to criticism. And when we've had those critical thoughts and emotions so many times, our brain just goes straight there. It's just like so fast, right? Because those neurons have made that connection many, many times. So sometimes we don't even think about it. We just immediately go there. Unfortunately, being critical and negative can actually bring you results. Like, it can work. And I think the psyche is well-meaning in that the point of the criticism is to incite change. It's like, if I punish you, you're going to change. And then because you want to avoid the punishment. But how we do one thing is often how we do all things. And if you think that you can punish and criticize yourself into change so that one day you can be happy with your results, it won't work. Because criticism is a never-ending treadmill of being not enough. And even when you succeed and even when you make progress, which you have been making and not like really giving yourself credit for, you make that progress, you get to that end, you get to that result, and it's still not enough because all you can see are the problems and the flaws. That's what a critical brain does. And so it's not like a switch is going to flip one day and you're suddenly going to be happy with yourself. It won't work that way. And I think we can do better. If you have seen the movie Monsters, Inc., okay, I don't know when it came out, the 90s probably. Their city, which is called Monstropolis, powers the city by the screams of children. Okay, so monsters are selected to scare particular children, and they make sure that certain monsters are with certain children because they are scary to those kids. And then the monsters go into the bedroom from the closet, of course, into the bedroom of these kids, and they get them to scream. They scare them. And then they collect the energy of the screams and they use it to power their city. Now, if you haven't seen it, here's the spoiler alert. I'm warning you. In the end, they discover that the children's laughter turns out to be 10 times more potent and sustainable than the screams. And I often think of this when I think about how negative and critical our brains can be in the name of motivation. Like, we think screaming is better. We think being critical is better. And that's because it does work a lot of the time. But laughing works better. Constructive, supportive energy and thoughts works better. Loving, compassionate thoughts work better. Okay. That being said, I think we are very unpracticed at being more loving in this department. I think it's because we see self-love or self-compassion as indulgent. It's like that I'm going to let go and I'm going to answer every whim, just like do whatever I feel like, and I'm not going to hold myself to a standard. So rather than go straight to self-love, which might be out of reach for us right now, we might not believe that that's better. I want to offer maybe something that's kind of in between, which is self-coaching. So we can go from self-criticism to self-love and self-compassion, but I think maybe a different way to look at it is self-coaching. Okay. And if we think about coaches, like athletic coaches, even myself being a coach, the purpose of the coach is to see what's happening and to see what the issues are and to see what needs change, but to figure out the most constructive way to get that change from that athlete, from that dancer. So do it in the most constructive way, the most positive way that's going to get the most out of that athlete. Okay. And self-coaching, getting yourself into a coaching mindset is really different because it does have that balance of like, I see there's issues, I see what needs to be fixed, and I'm going to figure out the solution. Okay. So self-criticism is, of course, that voice that focuses on your mistakes. It focuses on flaws and shortcomings. Your spins are just the worst. You suck at them. Your footwork is so sloppy. And while sometimes that leads to progress, of course, it comes with feelings of inadequacy. And it's demotivating a lot of the time. And it can actually create performance anxiety because as we are performing and we're working on things, we're actually subconsciously fearing the result and fearing what we're going to do to ourselves at the end because we don't treat ourselves very well when we're highly critical. And so many clients that I have, that performance anxiety is actually largely coming from themselves based on how they're going to treat themselves later. So being extra critical, while it might provide results some of the time, again, comes with a lot of negative emotion, inadequacy, demotivation, and performance anxiety. Self-coaching, on the other hand, is about offering constructive, supportive feedback to oneself. It's how can I help you? What can we do to improve this? It's about figuring out how to approach those efforts in a way that moves you forward, but it still preserves a positive relationship with yourself. And this matters because I really believe self-trust is central to confidence. And we all want to have more confidence. Self-coaching seeks to reduce the focus on failure. And it seeks to draw your attention to growth. Like, what do we need to do? Something in your dancing might be off the mark, but our focus is on how can we keep working on it in the next practice? How can we nurture the change that we need? And how can we still maintain motivation in that process? Self-coaching has a result of building self-trust, self-confidence, and it improves our performance as the stress and pressure is reduced. And we just generally enjoy the experience more without it coming at the expense of growth. And when we enjoy it, we're going to dance better. That's just the bottom line. So how do we shift from self-criticism to self-coaching? So first point is raise your awareness, and especially around your language. Okay, so this is about really paying attention to how you're talking to yourself. This is self-talk examination. What are the words that you're using? Are they particularly nasty? Some of you, it is harsh and nasty. Are you name calling? Oh my gosh, you're so dumb. You're such an idiot. What is wrong with you? Are you using absolutes like always and never? You always mess that up. You are never going to get this right. So this is about becoming a watcher, observing how you talk to yourself, and particularly the words that you use and the energy or emotion behind them. This has an energy of judgment. It's very judgmental. It has an energy of shame or guilt. Like you shouldn't be this way. Okay. When I work with clients and we unpack a recent performance or a competition, I ask them how it went and we kind of go through everything. I listen for how they perceive what occurred. I listen for how they talk to themselves about the experience. I listen for how they talk to themselves. Like, so for you, take note after a lesson, after coaching, or after a performance, take note about your self-talk and write it down if you must. I really want you to draw your attention to it. Okay, so that's point one. Raise your awareness, especially around your language. Number two is we're going to pause in the moment and restart. So when you notice the self-critical thoughts and the judgment and the harsh language, immediately put a stop to it. And remember, this is just a result of your conditioning. This is how you were brought up. And remember, this is Monsters, Inc., where we thought screaming was better than laughing. So then the next thing I want you to do is in that pause, give some words to what is happening for you. So the purpose of this is it kind of takes you out of the weeds. When you're in the midst of the experience and you're being really self-critical, I want to pull you out of the weeds and I want you to pause. And so I really just want you to describe what's happening for yourself. So it might sound like this. It might sound like I'm just frustrated because I really care about this and I want to get it. Or I'm just feeling really impatient. And so I'm trying to push myself forward. And it might sound like my brain really means well, but this guilt and shame just don't feel very good. And so I'd like to do it differently. So this pulls you out of the weeds. It makes you conscious. It comes to the prefrontal cortex of your brain and it makes you more conscious so that you can make a choice about how you want to approach this. And in this process, we're going to take some deep breaths in the pause. We're going to just take this moment to reset and restart. And it all makes sense and your brain means well, but we're just going to do it differently. So don't get caught. This is an important note. Don't get caught in the trap of criticizing yourself for criticizing yourself. Okay. This pause and this moment to reset, don't spend any time judging yourself for that you're in this current situation. We're just pausing and resetting, and we're just going to do this differently. So the next point is, which I think is point 3, is to reframe your language. So we're going to choose different language. We're going to change our approach to ourselves. So you're going to go from like, you messed up that routine completely to, yeah, there were parts of that didn't go as planned, but you stayed in character. So let's keep that part and focus on the first part of the routine in practice to tighten it up. Okay, so notice even in this example, we balanced some of that like undesired aspects with parts that did go well. And those parts that do go well are always there. There's always balance. We just don't look for it. Okay. So you're going to reframe your language. You're going to be pickier about your language. You're not going to say always and never. And you're not going to use judgmental, critical language. It's going to be just more open and compassionate. And it can be honest and balanced. Okay. So point 4 is we're going to get solution focused. So self-criticism focuses on the problems and self-coaching is focused on the solution. Okay, so we have something that we want to change. And kind of as an aside, I just want to point out, it's not even actually a problem or even wrong. Like whatever we're doing in our dancing that we've deemed a problem or we've deemed wrong, it's actually not. It's all made up. Okay. We have decided it's a problem or we have decided it's wrong. Someone made some rules and named some movements and called them figures and put some parameters around it. And some people took the way that the body moved and said, it's better if the feet are pointed. It just looks nicer. And we all said, oh yeah, that's true. And we made it gospel, but it's all made up. Okay. It's not actually a quote unquote problem. It's not actually quote unquote wrong. So I would just recommend that you use language that's more like things I want to work on or things I want to change rather than I'm doing it wrong. My technique is bad. Okay. And some people will want to push back on me, maybe even some teachers, but the point of this small change of reference is to focus on what we want rather than what we don't want. And it's to help remove shame and remove guilt and just be like, you guys, dancing's all made up. So I might not be doing what I want right now, and it might not look exactly what I want it to look like, or it might not feel what I want it to look like, or want it to feel like rather, but let's just work on it then. There's not actually anything wrong. There's not actually a problem. Okay. So shift your attention from a problem, quote unquote, to a solution. What can I do differently? What have I not tried yet? Can I increase the number of attempts that I do? Do I need to give this more time? Where and when can I give this aspect more attention? Who can I talk to that might see something that I can't see? Okay. What is the solution? Okay. Identify the problem, move on to the solution. Okay. Next, we're going to just infuse self-compassion. Okay. You guys, we're just overall way harder on ourselves than we need to be. Holding ourselves accountable to a standard, holding ourselves to excellence, holding ourselves accountable to some discipline for practicing or whatever. It does not require harshness. It does not require nastiness or self-loathing. Compassion contains a lot of understanding. If that makes sense, it includes like, this makes total sense. Like I would do the same thing. I would feel the same. Compassion accounts for us being a human and being flawed and awesome and not being a robot. Okay. It includes appreciation for our efforts. It includes attention to what we have done and doing our best with what we have now. Kindness to ourselves doesn't have to lead to complacency and diminished achievement. Actually, the opposite can be true. Kindness and compassion and understanding can actually help motivate us and keep us moving forward. Now, kind of in summary, the changes that you want to make in going from being self-critical to more self-coaching, they're not going to happen in grand sweeps and big changes. And it's not like a switch is going to flip. They happen in moments. This is very good news because we just need to stack up a bunch of moments where we make a different choice. And there's such small moments. It happens one simple change at a time, one lesson, one figure, one moment at a time. And it happens when we become aware of what we're doing, we pause, we reframe it, we make a different choice, and we infuse lots of self-compassion in it, okay? It's not going to happen overnight, but the more opportunities that you can stack where you make a different choice and you approach it differently, the quicker you can do that, as many as possible, the faster this is going to reform for you. I do recommend a conscious, intentional practice whenever possible with this. And what I mean is, like after you dance, whatever the occasion, if it's a lesson or coaching or practicing or performance or whatever, take the time. If it's like in your drive home from a lesson, for example, and ask yourself some self-coaching questions that point your brain to like what a coach would ask. A coach who's looking for constructive, supportive feedback and wants to make some change. What did I do well today? Like what's going well? What do I want to keep reinforcing? We got to know that. What am I proud of today? Like, what were the moments where I coached myself instead of criticizing myself? What efforts can I honor today, even if I didn't see the changes that I wanted today? What respect can I show myself for today? Kind of as an example, what's coming to my mind immediately is we had this boot camp this weekend, which I was going to, it was 2 hours of smooth and 2 hours of rhythm. Okay. And the smooth one was first. And I already was not feeling up to it. I was already like really struggling. It's 45 minutes away from my home. So there's a bit of a drive and I just was not feeling up to it, but I was like, no, we're going to go. So we go and we do the 2 hours of smooth, and you guys, my heart was not in it. And I struggle bust for the whole 2 hours of smooth. And I clock watched for the whole 2 hours of Smooth. And it wasn't anything the instructors did. It was just they weren't the problem. It was me. And it was just feeling really unproductive, and it was feeling like a struggle, and I wasn't enjoying it. And I didn't want to continue that day. So I went to the instructor and I said, hey, I'm not feeling up to it today, so I'm going to go, and I'm not going to stay for rhythm. So on the one hand, I could beat myself up for that. And I could say I'm not very disciplined and that I'm like letting people down and that blah, 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 blah. But instead I was like, you know what? I'm really proud of you for trying. I know your heart really wasn't in it, and you made the attempt anyway. Like you tried, you showed up. Like showing up's half the battle, and you did that part. And you really tried to overcome like the mood you were in, or that you weren't feeling well, or whatever it was. So thank you for doing that. And thank you for making that attempt. And I wasn't willing to beat myself up about it. Like I didn't stay for the rhythm 2 hours, and I'm okay with that. I didn't feel regret. I didn't feel like any guilt about that. It just, I focused on like, thank you for doing that. Thank you for showing up and being there when you said you were going to be there, and making those efforts. Like, what can I honor today? What can I respect myself for doing today? I don't even really dance a lot of Smooth. So it's not like I had a killer Smooth session. It's not like I learned a lot. It's not like I progressed a lot. I mean, I might have progressed a little bit. I probably learned some things. I did probably, taken some stuff mentally for Smooth, but mostly that was about like, thank you for showing up when you said you were going to be there. I love you for that. And that's good enough. Okay. So once you can really see and really deeply understand that making the change from critic to coach will not result in a lesser result for you, but it actually has the ability to 10x your progress and success, then you will start to reap the benefits of it. And it will start to seem crazy that you ever thought guilt and shame and criticism were the way. Just like Monstropolis. I mean, once they switched to laughing, it was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we thought that was the way. And that's what I want for you guys. Okay. I love you. Thanks for being here at the podcast today. Please share it with somebody that you love who dances. And I'll catch you next time. Thank you.